Well, I'm saying so basketball and football.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So if you had to pick a most valuable player to their franchise as as a whole, like hey, you take this one guy off of this franchise and they're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your basketball guy, which I think I know, and who's your football guy?
Michael Jordan, Tom Brady.
Ooh, I gotta be honest with you. I think Tom Brady slipped my brain. Definitely Jordan. That's mine. That's for basketball. No question. Um, I Tom Brady's an interesting one. I actually feel like, oh damn, you're gonna make me think because I kind of was locked in on one, and that's true because it wasn't like I mean,
Patriots had 0 Super Bowls before Tom Brady. They
yeah, but
weren't
they
they weren't
were,
they weren't a they weren't a
but they had
uh
played in Super Bowls.
yeah, but I mean the Bills played in Super Bowls,
Well,
you know.
yeah,
So
but those teams were loaded. How they didn't win is another
exactly.
conversation.
So up until Tom Brady is just the same thing with Michael Jordan. Until Michael Jordan got in a Bulls uniform, they never won a championship before then. Until Tom Brady got in the Patriots uniform, Tom Brady by himself has more Super Bowl rings than any franchise.
That's hard to argue. That's hard to argue. That is not where I was going, but now that you have said that, and I don't know how Tom Brady slipped my brain, but that's a fantastic answer. That I got nothing for that. I got no
Ho
argument.
ho 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 ho! I
Yeah,
stumped them, people.
that's
I
pretty
stumped them.
good. Well, I'm going to tell you where I was going,
Where were you going with it?
and I kind of had two. And which now that you've said it like that, it makes me rethink those.
Okay.
One was Drew Brees because you take Drew Brees off the Saints,
Yep, they don't have a chip.
and I don't know that the Saints ever sniff anything.
Yep, I agree.
That being said, they've had some good players there, but Drew Brees, I mean, that to me was a big one. But it certainly doesn't amount to what Tom Brady did. And you could argue that, like nobody at any point thinks Sean Payton is one of the greatest coaches of all time. People
No.
might think he's a good coach, but
Yeah,
whereas
not great.
Brady had Belichick, who a lot of people thought he was the greatest defensive mind before, his when he was a coordinator on those Giants teams.
I
It
always
wasn't
thought
like,
Buddy Ryan was the greatest defensive
well,
coordinator
and
of all
and
time, but
a lot of
I,
people would certainly
I,
argue that.
I have heard that argument.
Um, but like I kind of look at that like, yeah, I mean, but Tom Brady, played for one of the greatest, if not the greatest, NFL coaches of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He played for a franchise that wasn't afraid to make moves.
Mm-hmm.
What did Drew Brees have? Sean Payton. They made some moves, but some of those moves were trading away some of the best players they had. Jimmy Graham. They ruined possibly one of the greatest tight ends of the last 30 years. So that's why Drew Brees was my one. My second one was, even though, and I know what people are going to say, this team won before this guy, but you take Dan Marino off those 80s Dolphins teams, they're a middle of the road team.
Well,
They kind of were. They kind of were
yeah,
some
they
seasons anyway.
Yeah. I would argue more. When you say 80s teams, I will argue more for Joe Montana on the 49ers than Dan Marino because they actually won. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you could
If
say
you
that
don't
about
want,
Steve Young.
then you just say Jerry Rice then,
Yeah, but
right?
see, I think as great
So
as I think Jerry Rice was, I think they still win without Jerry.
you think so?
Yeah, because they had defense. Those teams were. I mean,
Man,
Jerry was. Don't get
Jerry
me wrong,
opened up so much for the offense because
Jerry's
I mean
great, but
he was fast, he had hands, and he could. I know we talk about it now. Yak, he was doing yak before yak was a stat.
for sure.
You know, but Montana and Young both had Rice, and he made both of them look great.
I
Uh,
just think like in those cases, because that's like tell who was Drew Brees' greatest defense. Tom Brady had defenses.
yeah,
Joe
yeah,
Montana had defenses.
yeah.
Like that's a
When you say that,
huge part.
I mean, New England head coach was a defensive coordinator, so he's going to build his defense. You
All the
know,
more reason.
Sean Payton was an offensive guy. That's why he was trying to build the offense. That's why they scored almost 40 points a game the season they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
Which
I get it.
that's
The coach is going to build whatever their specialty is. Um, and that's what won Tom those first three Super Bowls.
without a doubt.
But I mean, he still had to steer the ship. I understand what you're saying with Dan because Dan is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You give Dan Marino a ring, it's Brady, then probably Dan. If you give him one ring, you know, but because he doesn't have that ring, he kind of falls down the
100%.
list a little bit. But he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But I think him not winning, and then for him to go as a rookie and then not go back,
Yeah,
I
it
think that
hurt.
hurts him as well.